Part 1, a text that changed everything. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't come with a knife. It comes with a message, a simple text on a quiet evening, from the person you love most in this world. "Hey Mom, please don't come tonight. Megan says it's a private dinner. She doesn't want you there." That was it. No punctuation, no explanation, no apology. I stared at the screen, my thumb trembling above the keyboard, my mind desperately searching for a reason, any reason why I'd be excluded from my own son's birthday dinner. The same son I raised alone. The same son I stayed up with through fevers, through heartbreaks, through every broken dream. "I thought we were having dinner together," I replied. A few seconds passed. "Then, we are, just without you. Megan wants it that way. Don't make a big deal about it." And that was the moment, not when I read the message, but when I saw his silence afterward. He didn't even defend me. He didn't ask her to reconsider. He just let me go. And I realized something as tears welled up in my eyes. I had already been gone from his life a long time ago. Part 2, the dinner I paid for, but wasn't invited to. I sat in the kitchen, still holding my phone as the minutes passed, then hours. The clock struck 7:00, the exact time they'd be sitting down for dinner. Laughing, toasting, celebrating while I sat in silence, and the cruelest irony, I paid for that dinner, every single detail. It was me who booked the reservation at the private dining hall, me who sent the deposit, me who arranged the custom cake, the one with "Happy 30th, Daniel" in gold script, me who sent the wine ahead, who picked the floral centerpieces because Daniel liked tulips, not roses, and I was the only one not welcome, not because I had done something wrong, not because I had caused a scene, but because his wife simply didn't want me there. And my son, my only son, agreed. That night I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, stunned, feeling like a guest in a life I had built from the ground up. I opened my wallet and pulled out the receipt. $1, $400 for the venue, $300 for the cake, $2, $600 for the custom wine pairing and multi-course meal. I laughed quietly, not out of humor, but out of that numb kind of grief that comes when you realize you've spent more money on people who don't respect you than you've spent on your own healing. I called the restaurant, spoke to the manager. "Yes, I'm the one who made the reservation. Could you please confirm the name and time again?" He did, everything matched. Then I asked calmly, "And if the bill was already paid, is there a way to cancel the wine service and dessert?" He hesitated. Technically yes, since you're the one on file as the host." "Great," I said. "Let's remove the wine and dessert. I no longer wish to celebrate." Part 3, the gift that broke me. There's something cruel about memory. It doesn't wait for your permission. It just appears, uninvited, like I had been. That night, as I sat at the kitchen table alone, I remembered another evening. 3 years ago, Daniel had just proposed. He brought Megan over to our little home. She wore a white sweater and that same half-smile she always gave me, the one that never reached her eyes. They sat me down and said they wanted a small wedding. Intimate, just family, but they were struggling with finances. Student loans, they said. Rent, the usual. And without hesitation, I offered to pay for the entire thing. The venue, the dress, the catering, even the honeymoon. I drained the savings account I had built over decades, the one I had quietly set aside, not for retirement, not for vacation, but for him, so he could have a life better than mine. I gave it to them with a smile, because that's what mothers do. They give, even when it costs them everything. I remembered Megan's face when she tried on the dress, how she called me Mom for the first time, how I cried behind the camera when they said their vows. And now, I wasn't allowed at dinner. I was too much. I was the problem. But that night, as I sat there, something shifted inside me. Not anger, not revenge, just clarity. I realized they didn't just take my money. They took my kindness, my presence, my motherhood, and made it conditional. As long as I was useful, I was welcome. But once I had nothing left to give, I was disposable. And that's when I knew it wasn't just the dinner I had to take back, it was everything. Part for the silent reclamation. The next morning, I woke up early, made myself a cup of coffee, black, no sugar. The way I used to drink it when I worked 2 jobs just to keep Daniel in private school. There was something grounding about that bitterness. Something honest. I sat at the same table where I had once wrapped Daniel's birthday gifts in cartoon paper, where I sewed buttons back onto his shirts before job interviews, where I waited up late when he didn't call. And I opened my laptop. I began with the joint bank account. Yes, I still had access. It was meant to help them with the down payment on their home. I had deposited $20,000 in good faith. Just until they're settled, I had said, now, I transferred every penny back into my name. Next, the car. A 2020 Honda SUV registered in my name, a wedding gift. I contacted the dealership. Yes, I'm calling about a vehicle I purchased. I'd like to repossess it. The registration is under my name, and the insurance policy ends this week. They asked if there was an issue. No, I said, just correcting a mistake. Then came the hardest one, the deed to the house. Their home, the one they moved into after the wedding, was purchased with my credit. They covered the mortgage now, sure. But the down payment, the loan approval, all tied to me. I called my lawyer. Can we draft a document to remove my name from their property and request reimbursement for the financial guarantee I provided? She paused, then asked, gently, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, without hesitation, "Yes, I'm ready to stop paying for people who don't see me." There were no angry texts from Daniel yet, no apologies, no justifications, just silence, but I welcomed the silence. Because for the first time in years, it wasn't empty. It was mine. And as I stared out the window, watching the sun rise soft and golden through the blinds, I whispered, "You can't unlove a child, but you can choose to stop letting them hurt you." Part 5, the dinner that fell apart. 3 days later, I saw a missed call. No voicemail, no message. Just a single call from Daniel's number. I didn't call back. Instead, I opened Instagram. Not to stalk them, but to see if the evening they had so confidently excluded me from had gone exactly as planned. And there it was. Megan had posted a photo, a dimly lit table, the one I had originally booked. Long, mostly empty, no centerpiece, no wine glasses, no cake. Just a few guests scattered across the table, faces half-turned, awkwardly smiling, and Megan sitting at the end, staring at the camera with a forced expression. Her caption read, "Some people teach you love, others teach you boundaries. Tonight I learned both." I stared at the screen, not with anger, not even with sadness. Just a quiet, knowing smile, because I knew the truth, she hadn't learned anything. She had simply felt, for the first time, what it's like not to be carried. Later that night, I received an email from the restaurant. "Dear MS, Harper, as per our phone conversation, the wine service and dessert have been removed from the package. However, the remaining balance is still unpaid. Kindly advise who will be responsible for settling the bill. Best regards." And I laughed, softly. Because for the first time, they had to pay for something on their own. No more mom's card, no more quiet rescues, no more invisible sacrifices, just the full weight of their decisions on their own shoulders. The second missed call came later that evening. Again, I didn't answer. Instead, I walked to the closet, found the dress I had worn to their engagement party. I remembered how happy I'd felt that day. How I had dared to believe I was gaining a daughter, not losing a son. I folded it carefully and placed it in a donation bag. That dress had once symbolized joy, hope, inclusion. Now, it was just the ghost of a version of me that no longer existed. I whispered to myself, "I'm not angry anymore, but I won't stand behind people who ask me to disappear." Part 6, the letter I never sent. I didn't write it out of spite. I didn't even intend to send it. But that night, I sat down with pen and paper, not a keyboard, because some things still deserve to be written slowly, with the hand that once held him through his first fever, his first heartbreak, his first everything, and I began. Dear Daniel, I used to think a mother's love should be endless, that no matter what you did or said, I should always be waiting, always forgiving, always available. But now, I see that I made a mistake. Not in loving you, never that, but in loving you so completely that I forgot to leave space for myself. Do you remember the nights I stayed up with you during finals? The way I worked weekends so you could join that robotics club. The lunch money I slipped into your jacket when you thought I didn't know you were skipping breakfast. I didn't do those things because I expected something in return, but I also didn't do them so one day I could be uninvited, dismissed, silenced. Megan doesn't know me, that's okay. But you do, and that's what hurt the most. You didn't defend me. You didn't say, she's my mother. You didn't even say, please, you just looked away. I realized something that night. That love, to survive, must be given a place. A chair at the table, a voice in the room, a name that is spoken with warmth, not tolerance. I will always love you, but I will not let you keep me in the background of your life. I'm not angry, I'm awake, and now I'm choosing peace over proximity. I folded the letter, didn't seal it, didn't address it. I simply placed it in the box where I keep old photographs, Daniel's baby shoes, his first Mother's Day card. It belonged there, with the parts of me that had already been left behind. Part 7, the message that finally came at 2:13 a.m., a time when the world is quiet and all the things we don't want to feel come crawling out of their hiding places. I woke to the soft buzz of my phone. One new message, from Daniel, just 5 words. Mom, can we talk, please? My heart did what hearts always do, it leapt. It hoped. It forgot for one fleeting second every ache that came before. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, but I didn't respond. Not right away. Instead, I placed the phone on my nightstand and walked to the window. Outside, the street was empty. The kind of stillness that feels almost sacred, and I thought about how many times I had stayed silent for his sake. How many birthdays, holidays, milestones I had made happen quietly without asking for acknowledgement. Now, he was the one waiting in silence. The next morning, another message came. I messed up. Megan shouldn't have said what she did, but I didn't know how to handle it. You mean everything to me. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please answer. And still, I waited, not because I wanted to punish him, but because for the first time I needed to know he wasn't reaching out just to fix his guilt, but because he finally saw me. That evening, I wrote one sentence, not to him, to myself. You are not cruel for choosing peace. Then I whispered a prayer, not for reconciliation, not for revenge, but for clarity. Because love, when it is mature, doesn't always look like reunion. Sometimes it looks like a boundary. Part 8, the unexpected visit. It was a Thursday. Late afternoon. The sky was gray, not stormy, just heavy like it was holding its breath. I was folding laundry when I heard it. A knock, 3 soft taps, not urgent, not angry, just hesitant. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Daniel. He wasn't holding flowers. No gift, no grand gesture. Just him, hands in his pockets. Shoulders hunched slightly. Eyes that looked like they hadn't slept. I opened the door, not wide, just enough. We stood in silence. His lips parted once like he wanted to speak, but he didn't, so I did. I got your messages. He nodded. I didn't come to ask for anything, he said softly. I just needed you to know I know now. I raised an eyebrow, waiting. I watched the footage from the restaurant, he continued. After Megan posted the photo, you weren't even mentioned. No one asked about you, no one noticed. He looked up at me then, and I realized I had let her erase you. I didn't reply, because that was the truth I'd been carrying for weeks, for years, really. He went on. When I was little, you were everywhere, field trips, lunches, recitals. You were the voice cheering loudest in every crowd. and somehow I let you become invisible in my adult life." His voice cracked. "I don't know how to fix that. I don't know if I can, but I want to try. Not because I miss the things you did, but because I miss you." There it was, not an apology crafted to make himself feel better, but a confession that required him to stand in his own shame. I stepped back, opened the door wider. "You can come in," I said quietly, but not as my son expecting forgiveness, as a man willing to rebuild, slowly, respectfully. And for the first time in a long time, he nodded like he understood. He stepped inside, not to reclaim the past, but to earn his place in the present. Part 8, the unexpected visit. It was a Thursday. Late afternoon. The sky was gray, not stormy, just heavy like it was holding its breath. I was folding laundry when I heard it. A knock, 3 soft taps, not urgent, not angry, just hesitant. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Daniel, he wasn't holding flowers, no gift, no grand gesture. Just him, hands in his pockets. Shoulders hunched slightly, eyes that looked like they hadn't slept. I opened the door, not wide, just enough. We stood in silence. His lips parted once like he wanted to speak, but he didn't, so I did. "I got your messages." He nodded. "I didn't come to ask for anything," he said softly. "I just needed you to know I know now." I raised an eyebrow, waiting. "I watched the footage from the restaurant," he continued. "After Megan posted the photo, you weren't even mentioned. No one asked about you, no one noticed." He looked up at me then, and I realized I had let her erase you. I didn't reply, because that was the truth I'd been carrying for weeks, for years, really. He went on. "When I was little, you were everywhere. Field trips, lunches, recitals. You were the voice cheering loudest in every crowd. And somehow I let you become invisible in my adult life." His voice cracked. "I don't know how to fix that. I don't know if I can, but I want to try. Not because I miss the things you did, but because I miss you." There it was, not an apology crafted to make himself feel better, but a confession that required him to stand in his own shame. I stepped back, opened the door wider. "You can come in," I said quietly, but not as my son expecting forgiveness, as a man willing to rebuild, slowly, respectfully. And for the first time in a long time, he nodded like he understood. He stepped inside, not to reclaim the past, but to earn his place in the present. Part 10, the piece we both chose. We didn't hug. There were no tears, no dramatic music playing in the background of our reunion. Just 2 people learning how to be real with each other after years of pretending everything was fine. And maybe that was enough. Daniel didn't move back in. He didn't suddenly show up every Sunday with flowers or guilt-trapped apologies. But he did something far more meaningful. He kept showing up, in small ways. A call once a week. An invitation to lunch, not out of obligation, but curiosity. Updates on his life that didn't just skim the surface. "We're seeing a counselor together," he told me one day. "Megan and I told her we need to unlearn a few things." I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. All I needed to know was this: he was beginning to understand that love without respect is not love at all. I began planting again. The backyard had been overgrown for a while, but now I cleared space. Rows of lavender, a few tomato vines, and a lemon tree that I named quietly in my head, Hope. Not the kind of hope that clings desperately to people, but the kind that blossoms even after a hard winter. One afternoon, weeks later, I opened the box. The one that held Daniel's baby shoes, his drawings, the letter I never sent. I didn't read the letter. I didn't need to. Its weight had already been lifted. I simply added one more thing inside, a photo of us, taken recently. Laughing, not performing, not because everything had been fixed, but because something real had been rebuilt. This isn't a story about revenge. It's not even a story about justice. It's a story about boundaries, about finally being seen, about walking away not out of bitterness, but out of love for oneself. And then, when the time is right, choosing to let someone back in, not because you need them, but because they've finally shown you they see your worth.